Hey guys, welcome to another East Coast Rams podcast. I am your co-host Ashton here with my awesome co-host Zach. I don't know if you have ever seen the awesome show, the animated one, Rick and Morty. There's a character, Mr. Meeseeks, and he says existence is pain, and I feel like that's what being a Rams fan right now. And my coworker quotes that all the time, and I'm just like, I'm feeling a lot of pain, and I think one therapy session we had last week wasn't enough. We need to go through something, and yeah, man, a brutal game. How are you doing? Just where's your head at with everything?
Yeah, I mean, I this we're recording on Tuesday, so we've kind of had 48 hours to kind of ingest the loss, the 20-3 loss against Green Bay, to a team that is very beatable. This and we could have
Terrible,
won this. We could have won this game
terrible.
easily if we had a different quarterback. We'll go into that later, but we knew this team. And this, I've been very optimistic about this team going in since the get go, but we all knew that this team was going to be a struggle bus this year. We all knew this going in, that the defense was not elite. It was not a top 10 defense, even though they've played fairly close to a top 10 defense for most of this period. But our offense has not even been close to what it should have been.
Mm,
We saw more sparks when we didn't have Cooper Kupp than we have with Cooper Kupp. So I am now at the point where I am no longer mad. I'm no longer frustrated or really irritated at this team. I'm slightly disappointed because I think it could be better than what we've seen. But I'm at the point where it is what it is. We got 8 more games, and we're just gonna have to play it out.
yeah. Uh, So, guys, we're going to break down the game first and then talk about news. The game's not going to take long because, just like the Rams drives, they didn't last long. So, the overview, not going to be a lot to talk about. Simple. And then we'll go into news and we'll talk about kind of like our opinions on the state of the team and the
And
season
the
and
Rams
kind
did
of.
not disappoint on giving us news right before this podcast.
Yes, the Rams are very generous with understanding our recording schedule, Zach. They hold the news just for before our podcast, and we appreciate them for being so diligent in recognizing our schedule because I'm sure they listen to us every week. Just on a sidebar, thanks everyone that does watch and listen. We appreciate it. But yeah, let's talk about this game. Green Bay 23. Zach, just going to be frank, the worst offensive performance I've seen by the Rams since the 2018 Super Bowl. I thought it was going to be bad whenever Rippon got announced as starter. I didn't even think he was, in my opinion, ain't nothing against the guy personally. Didn't even think he was up to a level of a practice squad quarterback, in my personal opinion. Now, I can be wrong. Team sees him a lot more than me. I'm definitely open to the fact that they had data points, information that I didn't know about. But I hate the excuse, and this team has used it a few times in certain situations, that, oh, he's from the system. He's been in the system for a few months since training camp. The system, they're familiar. If they're not it, and you know who that player is over a long period of time, they're not it. And it's very rare in the league for a player to just magically be great. Once you know who they are, outside of injuries, they are who they are. Some caveats, but for the most part, that's situation. And I think we kind of saw last year when he was with the Broncos, who Rippon was. I didn't even think he was good enough for practice squad, but like if they would have signed him to a practice squad and kept him there as a fourth string quarterback, not awful. Like if you get to your fourth string, that's what you expect. As your second string and as your backup, Zach, that was atrocious, even for a backup. That is not. He was missing wide open throws, just not being able to complete reads. The running game couldn't do anything either against a very porous defensive line. Now, credit to them, that D line looked pumped up. That the Green Bay team did look juiced to get a win, like they wanted to win more. Credit to them for coming out and playing, especially that D line. But even then, like you got to be able to throw because that secondary's all beat the heck. They had a lot of players out. They just traded their best corner, and he couldn't throw past 5 yards. He could barely throw 5 yards in an NFL game, and it was just it wasn't good, Zach. And I didn't think we should have went into this game in the situation to start with, but we did. Stafford got hurt, and the team lost a game that honestly, with probably 40 other quarterbacks, they would have won.
Sure. And, we're in this situation not because the Rams chose Rippon to be their second string. We have to kind of remember that he was going to be third string. They were going to keep three quarterbacks. He was going to be the third quarterback. We should have had Stetson Bennett. He is not with the Rams right now, may not be with the Rams in the future. We'll see how that all plays out. So the Rams were stuck in kind of a predicament at the beginning of the season. You have a fully healthy Matthew Stafford, and then you have Brett Rippon. Okay. As bad of a decision as you think that it was going to be, this team wasn't going to go out to find a backup quarterback. I think even if you try to get Carson Wentz, I think he probably would have been maybe a little bit more expensive than he was now. Maybe. Who knows? And maybe Carson Wentz didn't even want to play for the Rams. I put that out there as a kind of a conspiracy theory. Who knows? We'll talk about that. But we'll talk about Rippon, though. Rippon had a few decent things. He was able to scramble out a couple of times and pick up, some decent yardage. But that was few and far between. He had a really nice throw to Cooper Kupp. Again, one throw is not the end-all be-all for this team. But man, I mean, when Green Bay knows all you're going to try to do is run the ball, and the Rams did heavily try to run the ball, it was going to be the opportunity for the Green Bay's defense to pick on that. We had some good movement kind of in the first drive that the Rams had. They were able. Darrell Henderson was the one leading that charge, and he was able to pick up, 5-4 yards per carry for that first drive. Then they got to that weird 3rd and inches, and they decided to do a sweep with Ben Skoranek, and not really sure why that was a good thing to do, or maybe that was the second drive. But either way, that wasn't a good thing to do, and that completely blew up in its face. So yes, this offense was terrible. It was no good. Cooper Kupp wasn't good. I mean, I was watching him. He was missing his tackles. I get it was rainy. It wasn't cold. I mean, I guess cold if it was rainy in 50s, but maybe it had to do with that. There were players kind of slipping around as the rain was going, but it was just bad. He missed 2 snaps, missed snaps, 2 fumbles. One of them he recovered, one he didn't. The interception, it was bad, and he never should have been put in that position to even do. But it was the hand the Rams decided that they wanted to deal.
Yeah, I get the argument that like he shouldn't have been in that position, and it's not his fault. I agree. It's still on the Rams for keeping him as QB2. Like, I just don't think when a guy is QB3 practice squad at where like he should be there if the backup quarterback gets hurt, and then you just need someone with an arm. But like, I just thought going into this game, like they kind of just overlooked the position as a whole because of Bennett's absence, and it costed us a game. This was a winnable game. because the defense did keep us in this game for a good amount of time. And then it got out of hand because, like they could stack the box, and we have a running back from the practice squad and a guy we pulled up off the couch. They've done good. Don't get me wrong. But if you're expecting to go run heavy with those two guys and not be able to throw the ball at all against a defense that can stack the box, like most NFL teams will not be able to accomplish that. And, it's not on the running backs. It's just on the situation that you put yourself in by making those decisions at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, totally agree with you there. I got very frustrated kind of after the game, more with the Rams fans on, X, where they were basically saying that we need to fire Morris. He doesn't know what he's doing. He plays too soft. And
what is he supposed to do?
Here's the thing. Like, I get that we lost 20-3 to a Green Bay team, but like when your defense is playing for 35 of the 60 minutes that you're allotted, like, you just kept getting put back on the field and they kept making plays. I mean, they had 4 sacks. What was it? 2 turnovers, 3 turnovers. Like they were doing what they were supposed to do, but that all gets wiped away when, it's Green Bay Packers, the one scoring all the points on you. Very frustrating. I mean, they kept it to a 10-3 game up until the fourth quarter. So, I mean, did you even see Samuel L. Jackson's tweet? Apparently, he's a Rams fan, and he basically said, "When do we need to start looking at the Rams coachings as the problem?" So, you even got Samuel L. Jackson commenting on this. Now, whether he was directing it towards McVay or he was directing it towards, Raheem Morris, like it was kind of interesting. But yeah, Samuel L. Jackson's now even getting into how
I think there is an area where you can be critical of McVay and the way he has played the offense this year, and
Sure.
to be frank, the last 2 years, right? And even half of 21. Like last 3 years, he's had maybe a 10-game stretch of being really great with his offensive scheme, like hit or miss in 21. But like talking about Morris and like, I just feel like some of these people are a little nuts for the way they look at the game and how it unfolded, and then wanting to blame the defense. Like the offense couldn't move at all. They were putting the defense in terrible situations constantly on the field. And yeah, players had a bad game when you're constantly on the field.
Yeah, I mean, the only highlights of this game was the defense. Honestly, I didn't think Ahkello Witherspoon played all that great, but
his worst game of season.
But he was able to, get that fumble recovery. So I mean, he was just in the right spot at the right time to just literally just got like handed to him basically. But
fumbles haven't gone our way this year, so that was
they
nice.
haven't, but it was nice that we got that. Byron Young had a really good game. I mean, he had 2 sacks, 10 total tackles. Kobe Turner, again, it's these rookies that are coming out of the woodwork. We got Steve Avila, we have Kobe Turner, we have Byron Young, we have Puka Nacua. Like these are the names that we're seeing week to week to week that are becoming better than they were the previous week. Puka Nacua just beat Cooper Kupp in his rookie receptions.
Yeah.
So that's just it's fantastic that we're finding these nuggets now, so that when we can make the better play, when we can able to spend on more talent on the areas that we need, we still need to fix that offensive line. Whether you like it or not, we have Steve Avila. He's going to be a cornerstone to this. We have Rob Havenstein. He's a cornerstone to this. We even have Coleman Shelton, who I think is a cornerstone, but I still think that we need to focus on some of those other positions. And Dotson, he's good too. But we don't have a lot of depth when one of our guys goes down, but then we really still need to look at that left tackle spot. Like that's still a struggle where we need to have some
Alert protection. Jackson has struggled so to say, in the second half season.
Well, he's kind of struggled since he's had his injury. Like, I mean, he
Yeah,
kind of went down, and then since he came back, he hasn't really been the same. And then obviously Aaron Donald had Aaron Donald day too. So it was just really good to see. Like the defense did play really well. They just got dealt a bad hand, which again, I think that was kind of the same last year too. The Rams didn't have a bad defense. I mean, they still had Leonard Floyd. They still had Jalen Ramsey. They still had these pieces. But it's again, when our offense can't stay on the field to give our defense a break, you're going to wear down the other side.
Yeah, it was just porous, like one of the worst. Just unable to throw down the field at all. They were unable to execute any plays when it comes to like screens or like you mentioned jet sweep earlier. Uh, just bad blocking. The line didn't have a great day. At certain point, I do feel like Ripon tended to hold it way too long, started getting happy feet, and then he would like throw it into the ground. I'm like,
Yeah.
You got to at least get it on frame on fourth
Sure.
down. Like if you're throwing on fourth down, get it on frame. Like if the wide receiver doesn't make play, he doesn't make play. But like if you're just throwing it into the ground, like you're not ready to be an NFL quarterback.
Yeah. Did you also notice that for the first time that our kicker actually kicked the kickoff? Haversick was actually the one kicking off and not Evans, which I thought was interesting. I mean, I know Evans last week kind of had that ankle injury, but I thought that was kind of interesting. But then Havisick also missed one of his field goal attempts too. So it is what it is. But he did kick a really nice 50-yarder. The first go around.
Yeah, hopefully he gets the miss out of his system. I'm not like typically a kicker in his first year is rocky. Like we talked about this a few pods ago, where with teams that draft a kicker, like 17 out of 20 of them, like the kicker didn't stay with the team and they moved on and ended up being great. Like you got to give them a little breathing room. That doesn't really apply with veterans, even though I still don't think the Rams should have cut Maher. But if you're signing this guy, give him a chance, give him breathing. Now, if he misses like 3 or 4 in one game, that's when you get very concerned. But we're not in that situation yet. So good game by him. Our punter is really good, Zach. I mean, kind of.
I mean, shoot. I mean, he was kicking, he was averaging 44, 45 yards, but yeah, I mean, he had a nice, at least 165-yarder, if not 2 of them. So he did an excellent job there. He kind of got put in one bad spot because they tried to do a delay of game, and Green Bay was like, yeah, we're not going to let you take it back. So he had to kind of had a hit short. So it is what it is there. But all in all, terrible game. No good. Very bad day. But defense wasn't the problem.
Yeah. And Zach, my tradition of driving and losing continues.
Stop driving. I'm just going to say.
I maybe I need to not listen to the game when I'm driving. I'm 2-12 now. 2-12. It's killing me. I was 0-7. I was 0-7 in 21. That was atrocious. Like I felt so maybe when I'm driving in 2 weeks we can win. I'm sorry, Zach.
All right, we're just gonna. You just need to not drive. Just stay there. Just stay wherever you're at till it's over. It's 4 hours, and then drive after that. All right, so let's talk about the news of the day. The Rams are bringing on Carson Wentz, former Eagles, former Colts, former Commanders. Carson Wentz, the number 2 overall pick in the 2016 NFL draft, just after the Rams picked Jared Goff. So interesting play here. Rams Twitter or Rams X, whatever you want to call it, Rams social media in general, is very split on this. There are plenty of fans who are excited about this, think that this should have been done a long time ago, which it should have. We all know if you were gonna pick Carson Wentz, it should have been done at least a week ago, if not multiple weeks ago. When you found out Stetson Bennett wasn't going to be on the roster, probably a good time to actually make this play. But It is what it is. He is here now. What are your initial thoughts?
So this is one of the rare occasions where I'm kind of in the middle. I think as a backup QB, Wentz is one of the best options in the NFL, but he was asking too much. So I understand from a GM perspective not wanting to spend on him. I do think the second they thought Stafford might have not been able to go, they should have signed him just had him play.
After the Colts game, that was the big one where they should have thought, maybe we need to look into this. He looked bad at that game that we were at. Like, we were watching him limp all over the place.
Yeah.
That's when they definitely should have done that. But sorry, go ahead.
No. So I do live in Virginia, which means I do see a lot of Washington games on the television. And he has had a rocky 2-3 years, especially as a starter. His decision making can be off. He's a very much a one read kind of guy. He's similar to Goff. Now he's more mobile than Goff, so he can make things happen off script. But while doing that, his decision making is so bad. Like, he causes a lot of fumbles, which let me just say, for all the people saying this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, guys, calm down. I get his TD, the interception ratio is similar to Stafford's in the last 2 years. One, Stafford didn't have an O-line one of those years and had a shoulder injury. And two, I'm pretty sure Wentz had a ton more fumbles, a lot of fumbles. So, I do think it's good. I think he's one of the best free agents you can get as a backup QB. And I think he would have been better off the streets starting than whatever amount of preparation Ripon got to perform the way he did. Because, if you don't have talent, it doesn't matter the amount of preparation. He has talent. He's in the NFL, but top tier talent.
So let me go through Carson Wentz stats real quick, and then I'll give my kind of opinion on it, because I have you know me, I've got my own weird opinions about things. But Carson Wentz stats. So since he's been in 2016, he was obviously mostly with the Eagles. Went on that nice Super Bowl run until he was injured. We all know the story. Nick Foles came in, magic time, greatness there. Then he came back and really was never really the same after that season. But he's played in 93 games over those course of those years, 62.6% completion rate, 22,000 passing yards, 1,300 rushing yards for QB, 151 passing touchdowns, and 10 rushing touchdowns. His average rating was about an 89.3%. So, fairly fine. He's a good option when it comes to this backup quarterback spot. This is a similar situation to the Baker Mayfield of last year. Bring in somebody, and hopefully this can be somewhere where, if he proves himself, this could be a good comp pick that we get, moving forward. I know that there's been a lot of people on Twitter going over the last almost year now, ever pretty much since Baker Mayfield joined the club for that short period, that the Rams should be picking up Carson Wentz. It's the NFL is kind of a weird place to be at. But I don't know how many people really wanted it just because of the Goff comparison. I don't know if the Rams wanted it last year just because they, just a year and a half ago they had Goff, and it was always the comparison between the two players. Who was the better quarterback? Because you were 1 and 2 of the same draft year. Every time they faced off, it was always kind of this weird, wonky battle between the two. But I don't know. I guess I've been a Goff apologist. I've said this on the podcast many, many times. I think that's the reason why I didn't want this to be a fruition. I didn't want this to come, is because I like Goff. I feel like he was done kind of dirty by the Rams. He was a good quarterback who took him to the Super Bowl. Obviously didn't win that Super Bowl, and kind of, did have a couple down years. They traded him away. The Rams get Matthew Stafford. We win a Super Bowl. But now that Goff is on the Lions and he's going in the upper trajectory. So, it is what it is. I'm going to support Wentz as he's here. If he's getting the opportunity to play, I want the Rams to win. No matter what, I want this Rams team to win games. And if we have to go through Carson Wentz to do so, then let's do it. Let's get this done.
Yeah, I'll just touch on the Goff thing for a second. Like, again, two different situations. Goff took 6 years to get to where he is now. And I think this organization knew Goff was a good QB, a lot of talent. That's why they drafted him. But he wasn't going to be ready in the timetable that the Rams were to win a Super Bowl. And 2018 proved that to him. Like, he kind of crumbled in that Patriots game. And in 2019, he wasn't ever able to kind of mentally rebound in a way that the Rams wanted him to. They ended up getting Stafford, which they thought would be mentally prepared and physically able to kind of drive this team to Super Bowl, and he did. And it worked out for both sides. We've talked about this many times. I don't think this should have an impact on really whether or not they sign Wentz, because Wentz had his own points of contention on the Eagles, on Washington, in Indianapolis. And to be frank, some of those teams were not good that he got put on. And he got put in a lot of bad situations and then started getting put in like situations where he was clearly a bridge quarterback in the Indy.
Well, he was, but at the
same
same
thing in
time, it
Washington.
always had a good offensive line. And I don't know what that was, just a weird year for the Colts. I mean, the Colts have had weird years, especially since Andrew Luck's left. But I don't know. There's this also history of injury history that Wentz has.
Yeah.
He has been prone to some pretty severe injuries. So, I mean, he's played maybe one full season with a team, which is, it shows.
But
I mean,
as a backup, like me and you, if he plays 1 or 2 games, I think a lot better than Brett Rippon.
oh, for
I
sure.
think
And
he
again,
would
like
be
I
a
said,
lot
my
better.
my I had a lot of biases prior to the season. Now that we're in the season and we need someone and we've seen what our backups look like, then yes, we definitely needed him last week. We needed him 2 weeks ago, just in case.
Yeah.
Maybe Dallas could have been different, if Stafford knew that he had someone more reliable to take the reins, even though Stafford's a tough guy and he probably wouldn't have given up if he could, but things could be a little different if we went a different route earlier.
Yeah. Who knows? But guys, we got Carson Wentz. Hopefully he can learn the playbook and be ready in 2 weeks if Stafford can't go against Seattle. We always play Seattle hard, whether we're good or bad. So hopefully that trend continues, because I'm going to be honest, Zach, and we can kind of segue into future of the team now. If this team wants a playoff spot, they probably can only lose 2 games, max. 2.
And if you look at the schedule, there's 3 games to be worried about, realistically. I mean, if you go through the schedule, we got We have the Ravens, we have the Browns, and we have the 49ers. Those are our three biggest games we have left of this season that are almost automatic losses. And we can only lose two of them. And that doesn't even count. We still have Seattle again. We're going to have a Arizona game that's going to have Kyle Murray back. There's going to be things down the road that we're going to have to figure out. But there's at least three games that are almost at this point automatic losses unless we can figure things out quickly.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how things all play out. We won't be getting Kyron Williams back until week 12, so he'll be out one more week because of IR. But we should be getting back. We should, based on what McVay has said, we should be getting Havenstein back. We should be getting Stafford back, assuming he can grip the ball. We should be getting a lot of these players back at least by week 11, and then Kyron Williams by week 12.
Yeah, so let's say, Zach, we win. We have 7 games left?
Do we have 7? We have 8.
So 8. 8. So, Zach, let's say we lose 5 out of the 8. 5 and let's say we go 3-5, which I think would be at the rate they're playing, the average amount they're playing. I would say they end 3-5. That puts the Rams at 6-10. Probably pick 9, 10, maybe 11. Could be lower than that depending on how the NFC shakes out, but NFC is really bad. So let's say it's a moderate rest of the season, 3-5. We end 6-10. Next year, what direction should they go in free agency? Do you focus on a line and just pay for an O-line and pay for edge rusher? Because we have 70 mil. That's 4 or 5 players for you. That's 3 top tier free agents, and then 2 moderate guys. Is
so
that
what I'm
you
looking
do?
at, yeah, I think so. I think you look at the left tackle spot and see if there's anybody that you can possibly get at free agency as far as left tackles go. I think that's a big need. I think another big need is in the wide receiver game. I figured you could do 2 on offense and the rest on defense if we're looking for 5 players. Because on offense, on the offensive line, I think you don't want to have too many rookies on that offensive line or too many inexperienced. I mean, we already have Steve Avila, who has shown himself he's an NFL caliber player. And we have Dotson, and again, we've already talked about this, but our left tackle, I think we need someone. I don't think you just want to get someone out of the draft to be a left tackle. Maybe get one to start learning, so that you can get that guy into the rotation to be a left tackle.
Yeah. But free agents at if you want to talk about left tackle, you got Tyron Smith of the Dallas Cowboys. I definitely think he would be a noteworthy signing. And he's valued around 12 mil, which I think that kind of sounds correct. And then Dwayne Brown from the Jets. I'm not as big on Brown. I would be okay with that as kind of like a stopgap if it's a 1 or 2 year deal. And then you have I cannot say his name. Lucas of Washington. Cornelius Lucas of Washington. I actually think Cornelius Lucas, from when I watch Commanders games, not bad. He's not great. So you have one really good left tackle, Smith, that I think they should try to go after, Zach, especially after this year. If you want to make a push for a Super Bowl, you want kind of like an anchor on that left side, and he would be a good anchor. He's old. He's 32. But for linemen, we saw with Big Wit, like you could get 3 years out of him.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think I would be good with that. Again, like you could get somebody and still get someone in the draft to kind of start learning the process, and maybe you do get a really good out of the draft. But if you're going to be competitive, that left tackle spot is going to be crucial, especially if we're going to continue on with Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, if I'm guessing this Rams team, they're going to want to pick a high value like skill position, and they're going to want to try to get the line paid off in free agency if they can help it. Jason Kelsey is the other guy who hasn't been re-signed by the Eagles. If we could get Jason Kelsey, Zach, and Tyron Smith, like that's a good O-line.
Yeah, I just don't think that they're going to. Jason Kelsey would be amazing. Don't get me wrong, would be great. I just don't foresee the Rams doing that with who they. I mean, they have Coleman Shelton, they have Brian Allen. I know, but I don't foresee them really going away from those two,
I
unless
think after
something
this year with
drastic changes.
injuries,
It's possible. It's
with
possible.
the injury and like I almost
But if
feel
we're looking at if we're looking at 5 players, if we 5 positions, I really think left tackle, wide receiver, and then if I go to the defense side, I would say edge to counter Byron Young, a defensive lineman to help AD out, and then I guess a corner as well.
yeah, I just feel like they're gonna throw money at this problem because O-line has been a problem now 2 years in a row, especially that tackle spot. So
But we have found, like I said, I think we're close. We're 3 of 5 or 4 of 5 there. I think Steve Avila is consistently going to get better. Dotson has actually been really good at
yeah,
this. Havenstein is good. I know he's he is going up there in age, but like
I think
he's
we need
still
a center and
good.
left tackle. That's
And those are our 2 weakest spots, I would say. Our center hasn't been horrible, but we could elevate that spot. But if the Rams are trying to be creative and trying to figure out ways that we can do it, that's where I'm at.
I'm just saying if you sign those two, that would be a top 5 O-line. That would be it. And you wouldn't need the draft one in the first round. You could get one in the third round, like a tackle, and have him sit behind Tyron Smith. But let's kind of talk about free agents when it comes to kind of like skilled positions. We can start with edge because I think that's a consensus where we can kind of go. You got Leonard Williams. He's the most expensive at 29 from Seattle. We'll see if Seattle gives him a contract or not. But Danielle Hunter, I think a lot of people have been interested about him around the Rams. Marcus Davenport, Carl Lawson as some defensive ends. Jerome Baker, Zadarius Smith, any of those people, Leonard Floyd, any of those people kind of wet your whistle, so to say, for edge?
I I need someone who's gonna really prove themselves at the spot. Like I said, Byron Young he's been playing excellent. We just need someone to counter him. Hoyt's not the answer. We've seen it happen. It's not. So honestly, I would take almost any of them.
Danielle Hunter, man, I think that would be
Well,
good.
I mean, I definitely would agree. If there's a way that we could still get Brian Burns to come over, I think that would be great too. So
You're not getting him without a few first round picks.
right. So I don't know. I think the Rams are going to make some moves. They're definitely going to have to make some moves, especially if they want to be as competitive as everyone keeps saying they're going to be in 24-25.
Do you think they go after wide receiver in free agency?
I think you almost have to.
Because
I don't know. I feel like you need
injuries
another.
up.
I think you do, and I think you want someone. I do, and I love Cup, and I think he's going to be great. I love Puka Nakua. I think he's great. Tutu Atwell has not been as utilized as he probably should, but that's also because I think they're targeting more Puka than they are targeting Tutu. Um, Ben Skoronix, he's great. He's a gadget player, but he's not the end all be all. So I think you're going to have to find another wide receiver, three, the Brian Cooks or somebody that can fill that role so that we can really truly have kind of what we had when we had Cup, Woods, and Cook. I mean, that's been our best wide receiver trio, since, really the greatest show on turf. So like, I would want to
So
focus on somebody, especially when we did the Super Bowl, like we already had Cooper Cup and we already had Robert Woods, and then we decided that we were also going to get OBJ. Just so happens that OBJ goes down, or that Robert Woods goes down the same week that we get him. But the Rams are always trying to find that triple threat weapon. And Tutu has had sparks, but I just don't know if he's that player.
Yeah. So let's talk about potential wide receiver threes then in free agency that the Rams could kind of target. Top dog is Mike Evans. He's going to get a lot of interest. He's
How old is he?
been.
Is he 29?
He's 30.
30.
30.
Okay.
Yeah, 30. So on the older side, so that will make him a little bit cheaper than your like in prime wide receiver, but is a really great possession. I still think, unlike Allen Robinson, you haven't seen any down years from him. He has been consistently good the last 4 or 5 years. And I wouldn't be opposed. I think that would be a great triple threat with him, Cup, Puka, kind of all rounding it out. And he's a little bit more physical than Puka and Cup. So I think that could help against certain coverages, kind of round out. But there's other interesting options. OBJ could definitely see a reunion there if Baltimore isn't really working out, which they have been slow to adopt using him. Curtis Samuel, solid Washington wide receiver. I feel like that's very meh in my opinion. I think I wouldn't be opposed to it. He's fine. Tyler Boyd, I really like Tyler Boyd. He is 29, kind of underutilized in that Cincy offense. I don't know if he would want to come here since we already clearly have a 1 and 2, and he's looking for opportunity to be a 1. So I would.
When you're going up against T Higgins and Chase, and then you come over to Puka and Cooper Cup, it's kind of what it is. Kind of similar in that aspect.
Yeah, Kendrick Bourne, New England wide receiver. I like him. He's not great, but he's good for third wide receiver. I'm trying to think of anyone else. Paris Campbell has shown flashes. He's with the Giants right now. I like him. Josh Reynolds. I don't know if they want to kick the tires on that. Noah Brown, Houston wide receiver, 28. Really good route runner. He's starting to see a lot more use in Houston. So that's an option. Any of these people fit your fancy?
I mean, all the ones that you listed, I think Mike Evans and Tyler Boyd are the two that I kind of like. Again, it's like, do they want to come into a system where they're really going to be fighting for our wide receiver 2/3? I mean, Puka is clearly wide receiver 2, but if you bring in someone like Mike Evans, if you bring in someone like Tyler Boyd, where does that change anything? You have a more veteran presence on that team. When you look at Puka and you look at Tutu, yes, Tutu's been there for a couple of years, but really he's getting his first shot really this year. So that's just where I go with that. I like those two choices. Other than that, I mean, I don't see OBJ coming back. I don't see Josh Reynolds coming back. As much as it sounds great, the team
Rams love bringing back old players.
Well, that's true, but usually they find old players who don't have a home is really what they like to bring back. So, assuming that they find other places for them, I don't really foresee them bringing them back.
Hey, you also don't know how the draft happens too. Like, they could very well sign a veteran wide receiver that's cheap, and then a wide receiver prospect they weren't expecting falls in their lap, and they're like, "Gotta draft them." Hey,
Well,
the draft is weird.
If you draft a Puka Nacua, and he becomes a star overnight, pretty much.
Well,
so
I mean,
very, very interesting stuff that we got going on. Lots of stuff to keep going on as we keep, week by week, we're finding less and less to talk about if the Rams continue not to find victories. So we're going to keep on discussing our potential 2024, 24, 25 Rams picks.
Yeah, it's easier to talk about next year because, it's hopefully less pain.
Yes, we gotta figure ourselves out, but I'm gonna keep pushing for them to win. I know a lot of people think that they should tank or that they are tanking or things like that. I think getting Carson Wentz now kind of puts that out of the picture a little bit, though I think they should have done this a lot sooner.
Better late than never.
I don't know. If we would have won against Green Bay, we would have had a way better shot at getting the playoffs than we do now. So,
I mean, it was either Rippin or Dresser win, and I have a feeling Dresser win probably would have looked worse somehow.
Yeah, I imagine, and now both Rippin and Dresser Win are no longer with the Rams, so the Rams do only currently have two quarterbacks in Matthew Stafford and Carson Wentz. So unless something happens within the next 2 weeks, I'm sure they'll probably pick up somebody off the practice squad. But if they don't, that pretty much means Matthew Stafford should be pretty healthy. Though I would be interested to know what the Rams' backup emergency quarterback spot would be if something happened to both of those guys. Hopefully that does not happen.
I think they said it was Cup.
Hey, I really thought, I put out a tweet right before the game that I really thought he was going to throw a touchdown. And if they would have gotten in the red zone, boy, oh boy, do I think that would have probably been something that would have happened. But we will never know because we could never get there.
I'm having flashbacks of 21 with some of those bad trick plays, man.
Well, I mean, we did have a bad trick play that got we got one bad this year, and it was good that we got the that we got 2-point conversion, but it's bad because that's what Stafford fully got injured. So.
Oh man.
Bummer with that. But I think that's going to wrap it up with this week's episode of the East Coast Rams podcast. Thank you to every single person who likes, subscribes, and follows us. We love doing this each and every week. We love interacting with you guys on Twitter. It's been fun. I've had a lot of interaction, both positive and, not as positive, but not negative, over the last 48 hours. So it's been fun to get to talk to you guys on the X, on the threads, on the Instagram. So please make sure you're following us on each one of those platforms. If you're listening to the audio podcast, please make sure you go to youtube.com/@East Coast Rams. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like, subscribe, smash that bell. Always get notified when we put a new video out. We do this each and every week. So big thank you to everyone who does that. Thank you for you. Yes, you, who are doing that right now. So Ashton, anything you want to say before we wrap up?
Yeah, guys, just remember there's still a chance. Positive vibes until the last, till dying breath. And yeah, man, hopefully we can keep on the positive trajectory. We've gotten a lot of support. Podcast is growing and we love it. Just enjoying it. And Zach, in our fantasy league, I'm on a hot streak lately. I'm sorry, my coworker pulled up upset I was hoping for. So we're closer to scores. I'm only 2 games below you now after starting off like 1-4. So
Yeah. My first place now. I'm definitely in second place after this one. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes.
you play me this week. So
Oh well, then I definitely need to get on the waiver wires tonight.
actually, I play my brother-in-law, but looking forward to it.
Which he's also given me some crazy random trades, which is just insane. So I just keep ignoring them because I feel bad declining it just because I can't do it. But anyways, it is a bye week this week. So the Rams will not play a game this Sunday. So we can all have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. It is Veterans Day weekend. So please make sure that you say thank you to those who makes the sacrifice of leaving their family. For those family members who have lost someone and made that ultimate sacrifice, please make sure that you thank someone in the military. Ashton, you're in the military, so thank you for the service that you provide to us. I got my Rams old salute to service hat on.
Yeah.
So that is also this weekend. Salute to service for the NFL. So, again, just big thanks to everyone who does support this country, to allow us to be free and to allow us to do things like this. We really, really appreciate it. Appreciate all the hard work for the men and women out there. Like I said, who give up their time, give up, the other things that they could be doing to support our country. So big appreciation to that.
Who drive 6 hours, once a month and listen to the Rams get crushed while they're driving after a hard day of work. Brutal, but I love it. I wouldn't change it for the world. It's such an honor sometimes to serve my state, and we try to have fun while doing it, get prepared, and help protect us from that crazy world out there.
Yes. So big thank you. So because we're on a bye, we will be back for next week's episode where we will preview the home game against Seattle. It's going to be fun. It's going to be weird. I think the Rams can pull off a win. That's my tease for next week. So make sure you listen. And I'll give my explanation to that then. But for now, we will say see ya next week and enjoy this lovely weather we're having outside. And as always, we say, whose house?
Rams
house.